And we're back here on TVP World, and we're going to discuss the situation surrounding the OSCE. Now, cutting off diplomatic channels or maintaining them, that is the question when it comes to Russia's membership in the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe. Now, since the beginning of the war in Ukraine, Kyiv has been demanding the exclusion of Russia from the OSCE. Russia, being a member, has effectively blocked the activities of the organization since it has invaded Ukraine.
Now, the OSCE is the only organization to have branded Russia as a state sponsor of terrorism. And earlier this year, Russia said it would likely leave the organization.
Now, joining us here to discuss whether the OSCE needs Russia or not is Radu, Albu, Comanescu, Vice Grad Insight Fellow. Thank you for joining us here in the studio.
Thank you for inviting me.
Now, concerning the OSCE, we've seen Russia say potentially that it would leave the organization. It was talking about doing so at the beginning of the year. But I think for our viewers, most valuable is why has the organization been so important, really since the end of the Cold War?
Because it was the first big platform of communication, negotiation, and legitimate reunion between the main actors of the Cold War. You would have the United States, and you would have the Soviet Union. This is why we have such a large number of states being members of the organization. And then, if we go back to, I think, 1991, was it James Baker who spoke about that Europe from San Francisco and Vancouver to Vladivostok. It was the most comprehensive formula, bringing in everybody that was concerned about the situation in Europe, keeping in mind that Europe was divided for a long period, and then you would have the post-division reconstruction, reconnection, which was essential. Is it essential now? That is the question, because as we can see, Russia is not only pushing the limits of diplomacy, but refusing diplomacy in the end. But let's focus a bit on the narrative of Russia. I'm going to leave this institution. If they really wanted to leave, they would have done it by now. So what they want to stress is, I'm such a powerful actor that without me, the organization would be dysfunctional.
Right.
I think that Romanian diplomacy, by refusing to accept their delegation to attend the parliamentary assembly in Romania, is actually sending a message, this is how we would work without you. Mm-hmm. So it is finally giving Russians the medicine they try to offer others. And this is a signal that Moscow should pick, but I'm not sure they are going to pick the right version of it, because the Romanian-Russian relations are not at their best. They never really were at their best, at least in the 20th century. Moscow might find this as sort of, I don't know, disrespectful behavior coming from Romania. And I insist on the word disrespectful because a few years ago, when Romania was trying to negotiate let's say, a new partnership, a new dialogue, actually, with Russia because of the Black Sea partnership. Russia said that we should be careful not to be disrespectful of Russian interests. The thing is, how can we know which is the definition of respect when Moscow can invoke any time feeling disrespected? So this is finally something that should put them in a corner and make them think about their choices.
Well, and if we look back at the last summit, they really wanted to attend, right, when it was in Tirana, and they did attend. Because Bulgaria extended them the right to transit.
Yes.
They want to be seen in the world, and I think, I think this seems like a rather prudent decision on the behalf of Romania.
Right. Let me push back on it a little bit and play devil's advocate, because this is one of the few remaining formats that involves NATO allies as well as Ukraine and Russia on a diplomatic front. Do you think that by barring Russia from attending, or if Russia walks away, we will no longer have any form of diplomatic channel and kind of have to, resort to war?
Not necessarily. I mean, the underground, channel B, C, D, 1.5, 2 channels are still there. What is happening now is within the framework of an official institution. And it's also a signal that this can be performed. This can happen also in other institutions. Maybe one day the United Nations. We have no idea how far this will go. But the message is important because it finally shows that we can handle our problems in Eurasia, more or less, because that was the definition of the Europe conceived from Vancouver to Vladivostok, especially Lisbon to Vladivostok. That was the section that was important to us. Eurasia can function without Russia being always present. Russia may also take notes, and they will certainly follow what's happening. It is not a definitive exclusion. They are being excluded now. But of course, next reunion, they may come back. They may be invited, or inertia may make it in ways that they are present again. So it's always with diplomacy, it's complicated. What is important is the substance of the message that's being sent.
Now, in terms of performance and intent that we've seen from Russia, I mean, since the full-scale invasion of Ukraine, it's repeatedly blocked the budget, although it cites paying into the budget. I remember being at one of the meetings last year in Warsaw, and essentially all the delegates were pretty fed up with the antics of the Russian and Belarusian delegations, I might add. But in terms of the wider organization, are those the two biggest thorns in the heel of the OSCE, Russia and Belarus?
For the moment, yes. Because they're also, let's say, passive-aggressive in this moment, when not overtly aggressive. But they are those who are clearly blocking any process of decision-making in ways which are constructive to all the other parts. So this is, let's say, a sort of scene or a set where they like to perform the role of, I'm the mighty, I'm the powerful, I can obstruct diplomatic developments in Europe, I can put pressure on you, and you should listen to me. It never works. I mean, Russia has such a different criteria to define diplomatic action, to define interaction and cooperation with others, that they need to understand that there are limits to this kind of redefinition as long as you belong to a community of nations that since 3 decades already understood that cooperation is by far more productive, more fertile, and it includes an exchange that Russia is not willing to be a part of. So I think this self-definition of Russia as an aggressor an aggressor in diplomatic terms within the organization is not exactly helpful. They want to demonstrate power. What they obtained was, they were kicked out. At least now.
Well, I guess they can get a taste of that from June 29th to July 3rd.
Very much so. And with that, we're concluding this part of our interview. Thank you so much for bringing us and giving us your input and insight. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.